I would like to begin this episode with a moment of silence dedicated to our brother George Floyd, our sister Breonna Taylor, our brother Ahmaud Arbery, and to all the victims who died at the hands of white supremacy. Welcome to the Only Chip in the Cookie podcast. I'm your host, Larry from Iowa. Okay, so this is our very first podcast, and I want to make a few things clear just right out the gate. So, just real quick, a little bit about me. I am a black man living in a predominantly white state, Iowa specifically. I was raised here, so for many years of my life, as my aunt would say, I was the only chip in the cookie, meaning I was the only black kid in the class sometimes. Do you remember what it was like back in the day learning about slavery when you were the only black kid in class? Yeah, that was me. A lot of times I've been the only black person at a job. I felt tokenized at times. All kinds of stuff that people like us go through, right? So as our podcast develops, we'll talk more about those kinds of experiences, the experiences of being black in a predominantly white space or white state. But the truth is, this first episode, I really wanted to just jump into what's really important right now. The fact is, there are a lot of black people that are hurting right now. We are not okay. There's a specific group of us that are hurting in kind of a weird way, and specifically the ones that I'm thinking about are my black brothers and sisters that are dealing with all of this stuff that's going on right now, that don't necessarily have the network, don't have a network rather, that includes other black people to talk to. I want to talk to you guys for a second. My heart is with you guys. Honestly, probably because I am you guys. I'm specifically talking about the tragic death of George Floyd on May 25th, 2020, as he was violently killed by Derek Chauvin, who pressed his knee into George's neck for 8 minutes and 45 seconds, killing him. And when you're black and your social network is mainly white people, or you spend several hours a day at a job that employs minimal black people, how are you guys handling this? How are you releasing the tension or getting across how you feel? Are you able to react in a safe space? Our society teaches us at a pretty early age that we're not really allowed to express our black feelings, in particular feelings of anger or sadness, or really anything specific to the black community, right? And so if your network is lacking other black folks or lacking empathy, it just makes me wonder, how are you being supported? I live in the town that I grew up in, and there's some folks that I know that are black, and I know that they didn't necessarily have a lot of black friends growing up, and I've been finding myself, just reaching out to them just to let them know, like, hey, I'm here if you need to talk, and guess what? They've all taken me up on that, but I've also needed to reach out to people too, to talk about, how I'm feeling about stuff. But are your white friends, are they hitting you up? Have you gotten that how can I support you text message, or the what can I do to help text, or the I'm sorry text message, or the I'm talking to my kids about racism DM? I know some of you have. Some of you guys, I'm sure, have had your previous coworkers or or people that you've met at weddings, or maybe people that you work with. You know, maybe you've had some friends, some white friends reach out to you, or acquaintances reach out to you to check on you, see how you're doing, or ask how they can help you. And isn't it crazy how just haywire your emotions can go, even when you know that someone is trying to do something good? This is what I mean. You know, one minute you're fine, you're cool with your white friend calling you or texting you, asking, you know, if you're all right, and you know, I'm thinking of you, that kind of thing, right? And sometimes you're even cool with offering some crumbs. This is the cookie podcast, right? So sometimes you're cool with offering some crumbs of advice or solutions about racism and things like that, right? But then there are some days that are just tougher than others while dealing through this stuff. And it could be a different day and someone sends you the same kind of text message or the same kind of message. Hey, how's it going? Checking in on you. And for whatever reason, you mad, right? Or you just something is just off, right? And what you want to say is, you want to support me the way that you would support your man and your children if they're constantly being killed by the police, right? Sometimes you want to answer like that, right? Hey, whether you answer like that or not, I am not here to judge you. I just want you to know that those feelings are natural. Us black folk have been through a lot of trauma. I know I feel like that. Anyway, listen, hey, I'm going to give you free game alert. Free game alert. If you are feeling moved by what you're seeing on TV, if you feel like you're learning more about, you know, racism and white privilege and stuff like that, right? If you're feeling this wave of empathy coming over you as these stories unfold and as your eyes become more open, take a chance, right? Take a chance, and if you know somebody black, reach out to them, okay? Let them know that you acknowledge that racism exists. Just reach out to them. And I know that's a bold statement, and get this, not everyone is going to respond back to you in a way that's going to make you feel comfortable, you know? And hey, I'm only speaking from my perspective. I could be wrong, right? But my advice, reach out to that person. And if they react in a way that's kind of weird, you know what? Just let them rock, because we're all hurting right now. We're all trying to process this stuff every single day. And some days we can process things a little bit better than others, right? But I would say, take a chance. Reach out to that person. Reach out to your neighbor or your colleague. Let them know that you care. So I work from home, or at least I have been since mid-March due to quarantine. Damn, hold up. So we've been dealing with a lot. We've been dealing with a lot as black people since the beginning of the year. Kobe's death broke our hearts. Rest in peace, Kobe. I know that was more of a global tragedy, but just stick with me. Kobe died, and then Corona, and now, yet again, another unjust murder of yet another unarmed black man. Crazy. Anyway, as I was saying, so I work from home. I can only imagine what some of my sisters and brothers are going through at their jobs right now. Some of you guys have to work side by side with people that are completely clueless. They don't know what's going on. They're making jokes about looting, which I'm sure are racist. They're minimizing this situation. They haven't said anything about the actual murder or police brutality or anything like that, but they're quick to make jokes and comment on the looting stuff. Isn't that crazy? I can just imagine that some of you guys are having to deal in environments like that. Some of you guys probably have coworkers that you probably would have assumed that they had no idea that something catastrophic happened to the black community until they decided to open their mouths about the looting. Oh, the looting.
The buildings are being destroyed. What's that going to prove? If my property were vandalized, I'd shoot the looters.
Some of you guys are hearing stuff like this at work. I know that you are. It's like they have so much to say about the property being destroyed. Property that's not even theirs, but yet not a single word of compassion about the young man that lost his life all too soon. Nothing said about the man that lost his life by knee to the neck, by a guy that supposedly swore an oath to serve and protect his community. They didn't say anything about that, but yet somebody throws a brick through some billionaire's storefront window. Listen, that window can be replaced. Mr. Floyd is not coming back. There's no insurance policy that's going to bring him back. But I can just imagine some of you guys are working in some of those environments. That's why I'm recording this podcast. Some of you guys are going to work or at work with a constant feeling of anxiousness, anxiety, because you know the degree of bullshit that you're going to have to deal with in the office while you are trying to make sense of this madness your damn self. You feel a way about what happened to George Floyd and what continues to happen to black people. And it can feel like you're surrounded by people that don't care. That's what it feels like. People that make you feel like they don't GAF about you until they need something from you. I know that some of you guys are going to work anxious because you know you work in a bullpen or share spaces with people that are talking reckless about the situation. There's always that one or several ignorant coworkers in the bullpen or in those common areas talking loud as hell negatively about the pain and the trauma that black folks are currently experiencing right now. It's hard to work with that anxiety bubble in your stomach, isn't it? That feeling in your gut is the worst. When they're not talking to you, but they're talking loud enough to say without saying, I know you can hear me, but I don't care. When you hear your coworkers talk so vile about something that means so much to you, about your people, it's hard not to ask yourself, well, damn, do you hate me too? I thought we were cool. You know my family. Do you not respect black lives? Does this mean that you don't honor my family? Does this mean that if a cop knelt on my neck for 8 minutes and 45 seconds, killing me, instead of feeling compassion for me and my family, the first thing you would do is do a Google search on my rap sheet? I'm just saying, I'm painting this picture so vividly because I have been there before. It is one of the loneliest kinds of feelings to be a knowledgeable, woke black person in a non-black space. Oh my God. And then you got the guy, right? Then you got the guy in the office, the know-it-all, right? The history guy, the political dude that wants to get your take on what's going on. But he doesn't really want to do that, right? He has an alternate agenda. This person doesn't really want your black opinion. No. This person is usually just looking for an opportunity to fill their white explanation bucket. You know, this is the guy that wants to use his logic and his knowledge of the law to tell you all about how black people are getting it wrong. These aren't two-sided conversations where both parties take turns playing the role of active listener. No. This is, hey, I'm going to ask you a question. You better answer how I want you to answer. You better agree with me or we'll have a problem. Agree with me or be ostracized. Agree with me or be excluded. Agree with me or be the angry black man in the office. Even though you have every right to be angry. And by the way, why do they, and when I say they, I just mean like the bad guys. I don't mean like you nice ones or whatever, you know? You know what I mean. But why do they act like being angry is such a crime? Like, I'm not really into baseball, but I remember when the Cubs would lose games, there'd be like 40 people in my office, 40 white people in my office, pissed off, mad over baseball. But for some reason, outrage for their favorite team was acceptable. But anyway, hey, you guys know who I'm talking about though. What do you do when Dexter Do-Gooder or the White Avenger, you know, corners you in the office for one of those talks? I'm really trying hard not to cuss on this first episode. I'm sorry. But what do you do when he corners you? It's only human nature for fight or flight to kick in, right? Like what you learned in biology back in middle school. So there's fight. Do I school these cats? Do I school this guy? Do I explain that tensions are high and boiling over after literal hundreds of years of oppression, of brutality, that black people have been peacefully demonstrating for years, like Colin Kaepernick, but that y'all wanted to take his narrative and rip it up and make it about the flag? Do I drop knowledge that black people make up 13% of the U.S. population, yet we account for 20 to 25% of police fatalities? Yo, when you're the only chip in the cookie, your facts don't matter. Your experiences don't matter. What matters is who has the loudest voice in the room. But you can't be too loud in the office. So when they start getting emotional, when we were talking about racism and stuff like that, what do? We get quieter, don't we? Because we don't want to cause a commotion. And the crazy thing is sometimes you're having these freaking conversations with the people you report to, or person you report to. Isn't that something? So that's fight. Or you could flight. You could fly away. You could change the subject. You could ignore it. You can pretend to agree. I'm not saying that's what I would do, but I've been that guy, cornered, pressed for an opinion in the office about black stuff. I just say black stuff for lack of a better phrase, but I've been that guy, pressed, cornered, demanding of an opinion. knowing that there's only one right opinion. I've spoken up and kicked facts, and almost every single time ended up feeling pissed off, mad, because I felt like I got duped into having a debate when I thought I was heading into an honest conversation. Psych! For several years of my professional career, I felt like these people really don't want to listen. Now comes the regret. Why did I waste so much energy on this stupid non-conversation? Look, I'm so there with y'all. I get it, man. I get it. I'm holding my heart right now. Sometimes the choice you make is to ignore the boundary that was crossed. Do your little prepared agree to disagree speech. I hate that shit. Do your little agree to disagree speech, and you continue to stuff your backpack full of resentment, becoming more and more familiar with that twisting feeling in your gut. Feelings on feelings on feelings on feelings on feelings. There's a lot happening right now. A lot to process, a lot to feel angry about, sad about, confused about, hopeful about. Being the only chip in the cookie means a lot of times dealing with these feelings alone. Please, if you can, please tap into your black networks. I know these networks are hard to come by if you live in certain parts of the country. Believe me, I know. My state has a 4% black population. I live in a suburb, but the main city has about, I think, a 6% population. But I don't care. If you got to do a special head nod to the one black cashier, if you need to reach out to the one black girl that attended that leadership camp with you back in the 6th grade, yeah, she remembers you. She remembers y'all. We're the only 2 black kids there. Hey, reach out to her. You guys might not agree on everything, but there's certain parts of the black experience that are just universal among us. Yo, even if you need to subscribe and download to a podcast called The Only Chip in the Cookie, where the host vents about a lot of the experiences you're going through or have gone through, do that. Seriously, do that. I created this platform for voices like ours to get out. Look, all this stuff is heavy stuff. I appreciate you rocking with me through this first episode. As we further develop this podcast, we'll talk more about life generally in this space. It'll be a lot more, it'll be serious, of course, but, I like to joke, I like to clown. So it'll be a little bit more lighthearted. But like I said earlier, I know a lot of us have been deeply affected by yet another senseless tragedy. And over the last few months, on top of that, some of us maybe have been taking a health or a mental health toll dealing with everything that's going on right now. So I just wanted to come out the gate like this and just acknowledge those feelings that we're having right now. For those of us that just don't really have black folk to our left and to our right of us that we can talk to about what we're going through. I promise you, we'll talk about the work cafeteria on the next episode. Well, hey, thanks for listening to this. It's a first episode, but it's really kind of a bonus episode because the episodes after this will have a different type of structure to them. It's not necessarily going to be me freestyling the whole way through. But let's continue the conversation. Reach out to the podcast on Twitter at OnlyChipPodcast. My Instagram is the same, OnlyChipPodcast. I'll post the social media handles to the description. Just know My name is not Chip. I am Larry from Iowa. I want to thank you for allowing me to be vulnerable with you guys, and also for allowing me into your personal space to get some stuff off my chest. I hope I was able to validate some of your feelings as well. If you need someone to talk to, hey, just know, I got y'all.
Hey, this is Larry from Iowa, host of the Only Chip in the Cookie podcast. And hey, if you enjoyed what you heard, please consider donating. We want to take the podcast to another level. Would love to invest in some better microphones and some mixing equipment and computers and stuff like that. So please consider donating to the Cash App link below. And we look forward to delivering even better content to you guys. Thanks.